In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, we give praise, esteem, and honor to the living Elohim Yahuwah of hosts in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. John 5:39, 39, 39. Look at it, Shirley, a big girl. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and not... I'm sorry. Let's do that again. I skipped a verse. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you. The Abba, there is one that accuse you, even Moses, in whom ye trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? So, let's take ourselves back to Proverbs 25 and 28 just for a moment. And after that, Galatians chapter 5 and verse 21. What you over there eating, Shirley? Yeah, well, that's apparent. You like apples and bananas? Does that make you happy? That makes sense. Don't like it. Yeah, I don't think anybody asked you, sorry. My mom don't like apples. But I thank you for your comment. I said it's time to go to bed. I just sit down right here and my mom's bed like a baby. Okay, stop digging in your nose. It's crusty. Well, go clean it. He that have no rule over his own ruach is like a city that is broken down and without walls. That's what we talked about Wednesday, right? If you don't have any control over your spirit, then you're like a city broke. You're open to attack. You can easily be overcome, and the adversary can spoil your goods because the strong man has been bound up because you have no rule over yourself. Let's go Galatians chapter 5. We're going to switch. I'm just mentioning that, then we're going to switch to what we're here for tonight. Little Henry. What's up? Yeah.
Sorry, Mark. Go sit down on the sofa.
Go sit over there, man. $5.21 Galatians. Make it 5 and 19. Make it 5 and 17. For the flesh lusts against the ruach, and the ruach against the flesh, and these are contrary one to another, that you cannot do the things that you would. But if you be led of the ruach, you are not under Torah. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revilings, and such like, of which I told you before, as I told you of time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. So why is that important? We look at the works of the flesh. The works of the flesh come in from, hey, cut it out. Place the lotion down. Put it down. Put it down.
Put it down, Martin.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your cooperation. So, Hamashiach told us in the 15th chapter of Matthew or the 7th chapter of Mark, whichever one you would want to choose to look at, that the things that come from the heart is what defiles a man. We look at the certain things that come through. When you look at, and we talked about this last week, right? When you participate in adultery or fornication, that's a lack of self-control. Because it says a man who committed adultery, as we looked at last week, he lacks understanding. So let's pause. Let's look at something which should cause you to lack understanding. I want you to come to Jeremiah chapter 6. After Jeremiah chapter 6, we'll take away to Romans chapter 1. Jeremiah chapter 6. We'll pick it up at verse 26. You're supposed to get your child married, but you want fried rice. You know what they do with that fried rice?
I don't want no butter child, bro.
I don't know what they do with fried rice. I just said that. You told them yourself. You like little fried
I don't know
dough.
what they do with butter child.
I like
that.
that.
What I know.
Yeah, that chow mein ain't nothing but noodles. Main. That means noodles. Main.
And then child was
Main.
butter child.
Main. O daughter of my people, gird thee with sackcloth and wallow thyself in ashes. Make thee mourning as for an only son. A most bitter lamentation, for the spoiler shall suddenly come upon us. I have set thee for a tower and a fortress among my people, that thou may know and try their way. They are grievous revolters. Listen what he said, right? This only son who they making bitter lamentation for, he set them as a tower and a fortress that he may know and try the people. So through this individual, he's going to be able to know you and he's going to be able to try you. What's the rest of it? Pause with that no part. Let's do it like this. Genesis chapter 18. Oh, Shirley. Genesis 18. I said 19. I meant to say 18. 18 and 19, but we'll probably pick it up at 18 and 15. (18 and 16). Genesis 18 and 16. And the men rose up from thence and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went to them with them to bring them on the way. And Yahuwah said, shall I hide from Abraham the thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be baruched in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him. They shall keep the way of Yahuwah, to do justice and judgment, that Yahuwah may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. Why do we read that? We read that because he says, I know him. Now, of course, he said that back in Jeremiah chapter 6, that he set him as a tower to try and to know the way of the people. So, oh my goodness, you're getting aggressive. So, Yahushua is set to try so y'all can know the way, try you, may know and try your way. To know what type of things you're going to do and what type of things you're not going to do. So, let's see how I want to go with this right here. Right? When we sit back and we think about that particular passage, you come back to Jeremiah chapter 6, when the man was casting out spirits. Let's just go ahead and look at it. Acts 19. Acts 19 and 11. Elohim wrought special miracles by the hands of Paul, so that from his body were brought unto the sick handkerchiefs or aprons, and diseases departed from them. Evil ruachs went out of them. Then certain of the vagabond Yahudim exorcists took upon them to call over them which had evil ruachs in the name of the master Yahushua, saying, we adjure you by Yahushua whom Paul preached. And there were 7 sons of one of Sceva, a Yahudim, and chief of the priests, which did so. And the evil ruach answered and said, Yahusha I know, Paul I know, but who are ye? So why did we choose to read that? Because we discussed this a couple weeks ago. That the spirits in Shamahim, whether they be the Malachim or whether they be Satan's homeboys, they know who is who. That means y'all know who is who. Why do we know that y'all know who is who? 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. See, it's a lot of situations that you get put in, and the situations that you're getting put in is so you can be tried, so he knows your way. He gonna know what you're gonna do. That's how I told a brother the other day. You can't never say what you will do or what you won't do in a situation, because y'all could put you in that situation to show you out to be a liar. And I guess I pulled that verse that I told him about. Yeah, because people be quick to say, oh, boy, I would have never did that. If I was you, ain't know what you would have did, because that wasn't you. What I told him is, and what you should, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 13, is that you should always keep in mind that Yah will, he keep me in this, that, then, the third. Because he could let you slide and have that. With that being said, we still got Romans chapter 1 on deck. But we are bound to give thanks always to Elohim for you, brethren, beloved of Yahuwah, because Elohim have from the beginning chosen you, to salvation through sanctification of the Ruach and belief of the truth, whereunto he called you he called you by our gospel, by the obtaining of the esteem of our master Yahushua HaMashiach. So, well, stop messing with them wives.
No, I told you not to bother.
So, Yahuwah set certain people, but you still have to be tried. We talked about that not too long ago. Your way has to be tried. You have to be tested. You have to be proved out. Let's go back to, I mentioned something. I forgot what it was. Let's go back to Jeremiah chapter 6. And then I need to get off of this topic and get to the root of the matter. Jeremiah 6:28. They are all grievous revolters, walking with slanders. They are brass and iron. They are all corrupters. The bellows are burned. The lead is consumed of the fire. The founder melt in vain, for the wicked are not plucked away. Reprobate silver shall men call them, because Yahuwah have rejected them. So he said reprobate silver is what he'll call people who are slanderers, stubborn, and corrupters. And these wicked people have not been moved away. You got a lot of people y'all done tried and he done cast them away. You reprobate, you're useless. He has no cause, no rhyme, no purpose for you. Let's take ourselves to Romans chapter 1. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to do. I just didn't say it out loud. Romans chapter 1, right? Let's look at verse 21. He said, because that when they knew Elohim, they esteemed him not as Elohim, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Now, of course, right before that, he's talking about people who had seen, clearly understood the Godhead, that they're not without excuse. You have a lot of individuals because they don't know Elohim. And they don't know Elohim because they don't walk with Elohim. They don't walk with Elohim because they don't trust him, nor believe in him, nor follow him. So then it happens, he causes it, and let's take it by the way we read in Deuteronomy 29. You walk around in the vainness of your own imagination, and you bless yourself in your own heart, and he say, I'm going to damn you, and you, I'll wipe your name from under heaven. You wicked, no good bastard, you. Because you said that you can do what you want to do, and serve me how you want to serve me, and bless yourself in your heart, and say, I ain't going to do nothing to you. Now, a lot of people do this because they don't know Elohim, this is how their foolish heart ends up being darkened. We talked about this last week. Only the God of this world could blind your heart to cause you to be darkened. Paul, since I said that, come over here to Luke 11. We come right back to Romans 1. See, it's a lot of people's minds is dark. See, a lot of brothers' mind darkened because they found out they were Hebrew. That's what scarred them. Some people's mind get darkened because they got a little bit of wisdom and understanding of the text, and that scarred them. Some niggas was scarred the minute their mama said push. Matter of fact, them niggas was scarred the minute their daddy climbed on top of their mama, truth be told. 11 and 33. You over there looking like somebody that broke in the house in one of the movies. Look. No man, when he light a candle, put it in a secret place, neither under a bushel, but on a candlestick, that they which come in may see the light. The light of the body is the eye. Therefore, when thy eye is single, the whole body is full of light. But when thy eye is evil, thy body is also full of darkness. Take heed, therefore, that the light which is in thee be not darkness. Now you ask yourself, how can the light that be in you be darkness if it's light? How do you propose that you would answer that, sir? I'll read verse 36. If thy whole body therefore be full of light, having no part dark, the whole shall be full of light, as when the bright shining of a candle doth give thee light. How is it possible that if it's light in you, that the light is dark? Surely no.
You covering up sin?
No.
So the light, I don't know.
What about you, sir? Well, let's look at something in 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Where you going at, boy?
Go lay down.
Well, I ain't even gonna say how to look on his face, boy.
Look at that. We would just cut a cake over this.
He look like somebody just cut a cape over. He been married for 10 years, and my wife is home. He hit that Bill Cosby rub on the chest. And next thing you know, he gonna be walking back. Look how he look. What's wrong with him?
Mari, go lay down.
2 Corinthians what? Chapter 11.
Wait for you to say something.
So he waiting for that food. Is y'all gonna give me something? That's what he waiting on. And he say you need to
Go
stop
lay down,
playing.
Mari.
See?
Hey, what a verse. There we go. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 12. He says, all I want is a little bit of chicken. But what I do, that will I will do, that I may cut off occasion from them which desire occasion, that wherein they esteem they may be found, even as we. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Hamashiach. And no marvel, for Hashatan himself is transformed into a malachim of light. So when we come back to this Luke, and he said that the light in you don't be darkness. Remember that we read in Jeremiah, he said that he set him as a tower and a fortress that he may know and try your way. So when you look at it, he also said, and it says the same thing in Job, that when you walk in darkness, you don't know where you're going. Well, who has power over darkness or power over death? That is the devil. So when he tell you that the light in you that be darkness, let's read it again. Let's just read it because I'm going to say it wrong. I don't know you, sir. I don't know you. But he's sending me a friend request. I don't know you. I've never met you before. When he's telling you in this verse to take heed, therefore, that the light which is in thee be not darkness, and that the body be full of light. But when your eye is evil, thy body is full of darkness. So when you look at your eye as evil, I don't have that page in there, but I know what it says. In 1 John 2 and 15, he told you to love not the world, because the love of the world is the lust of the eyes. And John 8 and 44, he said, you are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. So when your eye is evil, or you lust after, or you desire evil things, you have no self-control. Because you're going to commit adultery, you're going to commit fornication, you're going to commit idolatry, you're going to participate in witchcraft, you're going to speak heresies because you can't control yourself, because you have not allowed the word of Elohim to bind you and discipline you and restrict you. Then therefore the light which is in you would be darkness. Well, we can see that is when the light came into Judas, because it says Satan in it into his heart. Therefore those desires, that is the light which is in you, which is darkness. He said don't have that light in you. Because remember, Elohim is light and no part darkness. So if there's light in you that's darkness, that means that you have the lusts, not Satan himself necessarily, not necessarily an evil spirit, though that can be the case. You have lusts in you that are contrary to the word. Therefore, your light would be dark. Therefore, your eyes are evil. Therefore, you have no self-control. Because Satan ain't got no control. Satan gonna do what he want to do. He try to tempt you to do what you want to do. That ain't what you want to do. Back to Romans chapter 1. And see what ends up happening is that individuals' minds get darkened and alienated or separated from Elohim, because Isaiah 59 tell you that it's sin that keep us separate from Elohim. And it causes you to travel down a path you don't want to travel down. A path that some niggas probably already journeying down, whether they in the word or whether they not in the word. They already on that pathway. So when we read verse 21 again in Romans chapter 1, he said, because they that when they knew Elohim, they esteemed him not as Elohim, they were not thankful, but they were worthless in their imagination. Remember, reprobate silver, you worthless in your imaginations. Therefore, your foolish heart is being darkened, because you professing yourself to be wise, you became a fool. See, you thought you knew something. You thought this, you thought that, and end up messing up. Let's continue. Verse 23. And change the esteem of the uncorruptible Elohim into an image made like unto corruptible man, and the birds, and the four-footed beasts, and the creeping things. Who changed the truth of Elohim into a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the creator, who's Baruch forever. Amen. For this cause Elohim gave them up under vile affections, I should say. For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. Likewise, also the men leaving the natural use of the woman burned in their lust one toward another, men working that which is unseemly and receiving in themselves the recompense of their error, which was meat. Even as they did not like to retain Elohim in their knowledge, Elohim gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder. See, when you look at murder, when we sit back and we look at, number one, we'll look at covetousness. Covetousness is a lack of self-control because you are desiring something that belongs to another person to the point that you would take that from them. That's a lack of self-control. When we look at murder and we look at Cain was upset that Yah accepted Abel and not him to the point he couldn't control his anger and he slew his brother. This is what happens when you get turned reprobate. You don't have any self-control. You're going to do what you want to do. You're going to move how you want to move. And you're going to say what you want to say because the word is not inside of you to restrict your behavior. Now, we get into something with this here that we mentioned on Wednesday, so just bear with me. Maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of Elohim, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of Elohim that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. So, and we look at that, right, and we come back to Galatians. Well, let me grab this Galatians 6, is it? What I was telling the brother about, man, because let me tell y'all something, man. 6 and 1, and then we'll swing back to Galatians 5 and get to the root of why we're here tonight. Always be easy, man. The book tell you that those of you that are strong ought to support the weak and not to please themselves. Just bear with me on that. Follow me on that in a minute. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such as one in the ruach of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Let me tell you something. Whether they in a fault, whether they weak, whatever the case may be, don't walk around talking about, oh, that nigga there tripping, boy, that'll never be me, lest you be tried and you be tempted. You got to remain yourself to be humble because there's no temptation uncommon to man. We're all flesh and blood. We're all dust and ashes. Everybody can get weak at a particular time. If you sit back and you got your nose tooted up to the point where you like, oh, boy, that'll never happen to me. I'll never do that. Or if I was in that situation, y'all going to try you. That's what he said. I'm going to read it to you again. He said, you which are spiritual, restore such a one in the ruach of meekness, considering yourself. You better think about yourself, lest you also be tried, and you've been done fell in that same situation. Don't do yourself like that. 5 and 22 of Galatians, man. But the fruit of the Ruach is love, joy, shalom, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Hamashiachs have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Ruach, let us also walk in the Ruach. Let us not be desirous of vain esteem, provoking one another and envying one another. Now, if you sit back, look at it, right? You hear people talk about that fruit of the Spirit. Joy and peace and love and gentleness. Always mention, don't nobody want to talk about no self-control. You're supposed to have some restraint and control over your behavior. Your emotions should not dictate your behavior. Your emotions should not dictate your response. This had this conversation earlier today. You can get angry. Books say, be ye angry. Sin not. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You ain't sinning because you got angry. You entitled to be angry. You can get angry. But does your anger cause you to sin? See, if you angry and you sin not, that means you had self-control. That means even though I'm angry, I'm not going to allow my anger to cause me to do something that is not me, that is not righteous. That's self-control. We should have all, if we all say we serve the living Elohim, we should have a level of self-control. If you can't, that we read it Wednesday, if you can't control your mouth, your religion is worthless. So we know full well if you can't control your body, you worthless. That's what it means to be reprobate. You worthless. I always say vain corruptors. And all of this stuff, Yahushua is here to know and try your way. And with that segue, this is how we dealing with knowing and trying your way this evening. Let's go to Isaiah 55. 55 and 1. 55 and 1. Let's deal with this. I hope I don't be before you long. I hope I'm not too long. This one here is straight and to the point. Isaiah 55 and 1. Hold to everyone that thirsts, come ye to the waters. He that had no money, come ye buy and eat. Yea, come buy wine, milk without money, without price. Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfied not? Hearken diligently unto me. Eat ye that which is good. Let your soul delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. Behold, I've given him for a witness to the people, a leader and a commander to the people. So he's stating that there's a man who's been given as a commander. That word for commander is savah, someone who gives orders. It's someone who charges. It's one who commands. You have a sod, you have a u, and you have a hey. And we look at that sod, we know that that's the way. And so what a commander is going to do is they're going to reveal the way of the sacrifice to you, or reveal the way of life to you, because the sacrifice brings life. This is what they do when they give command and they give charges and they give orders. Now I'm going to tell y'all something, right? Everybody says that they want to be a leader and a commander. The word for leader is a word that we're going to see in another place, so that's why I'm not focused on it right now, this exact moment. Everybody want to lead. Everybody says I'm a leader, not a follower. But we have to sit back and see what is it required of those who are going to lead. Because if it's going to lead, there's things that are going to be required of you. Most people don't fit the bill. I had this conversation earlier today too. When you look at somebody who leads, there's certain things that they do. We're going to look and see in the word and see if these people do this, who lead. Everybody who ever worked a job is going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I mention it. And I know I've probably said it before, but let's look at it, right? Let's take ourselves to 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Let's go to every man's favorite verse to go read. This is the thing they love to scream. Now, if you a leader and the commander of the people and you giving charges and you giving orders, then you have to sit back. You have to reveal the way of the sacrifice. You got to reveal the way of life. That means you got to, if you're going to reveal the way of life, it ain't what you think it mean. It ain't what you think it mean. Or through your head. It might not just be, oh, let me show her the script. Let me show them the script. Oh, no, that'd be too easy. You know what I mean? That's too easy. 1 Corinthians 11:1. Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Hamashiach. Now I praise you, brethren, that you remember me in all things, and keep the ordinances as I delivered them unto you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Hamashiach is Elohim. So the man would be considered to be the commander of the household because he gives the charges and the orders. But it's your job to reveal the way of life to your household. Remember what we read in Genesis 18? I know him, that he will keep the way and show them the way of Yahuwah. Well, not only are you showing the way, you have to show the way in a different fashion. Let me show you something what I mean. John 15. Let's look at something what Hamashiach said in John 15. John chapter 15, right? Now, this is the commander of the people. He said, I'll give you a leader and a commander of the people, the one to give you charges and the one to give you orders. Let's look at something. Matter of fact, you know what? Before I read John chapter 15, I think I need to go to the law. I think I need to go to Genesis chapter 25. I think I need to do that first. Genesis chapter 25 and 20 and 19. These are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, of the Syrian of Paddan-ram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. Isaac entreated Yahuwah for his wife because she was barren. Yahuwah was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahuwah. Yahuwah said unto her, two nations are in thy womb. Two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people. And the elder shall serve the younger. So our law states that the eldest should serve the youngest. Now, of course, we know this is saying that Esau should serve Jacob. But we know that Yahusha is the eldest of all creation. And let's look at a statement of which he made. Because I'm going a little different order, but I got to work it how I got to work it. Matthew chapter 20. Now, you know, in our household, in our culture, the eldest is the strongest. And that he was supposed to serve the whole household. So if you the head of the household, you supposed to serve the whole household because you would be chief. You would be the head, you're the leader, you're the commander. That's your job, that's your duty. Matthew chapter 20. Probably about 20 and 25. Make it 20 and 24. And when the 10 heard it, they were moved with indignation against the two brethren. Yahusha called them unto him and said, you know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. So what he's making a statement is that if you have power and you have authority, you exert your authority. Our laws say the elder shall serve the younger. So when we're about to read the statement that Mashiach is about to make, he's telling you what the law says. So basically, if you are a greater or you an authority, you're supposed to be revealing the way of life. And this is how the way of life is revealed. But it shall not be so among you, but whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister or your servant. And whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many. So when we see, let's go to John 13. What we see here is that the leader, the commander of the people, is revealing the way of life, and he's revealing the way of life is for an individual to serve. So if an individual says that they want to lead, they have to be able to serve. And if they have to be able to serve, then that means they have to have another key component, which is to be selfless. So you can't serve and be selfish. See, people do serve and are selfish, and their service is ineffective. John chapter 13. That's if you're going to be a lead. And that also takes into account that if he sets someone to be a leader or a commander of the people, then that's what their life and their preaching is going to reveal. It's going to reveal the way of life. So when we turn around and look at Yahusha and what he did, we're going to see how he was the leader and the commander of the people. And he did that through his service, which we shall see in a moment. John chapter 13. John chapter 13, verse 3. John 13 and 3. Yahusha, knowing that Abba had given all things into his hands, and that he was come from Elohim, and went to Elohim, he rise from supper, and laid aside his garments, and took a towel, and girded himself. And after that he poured water into a basin, and began to wash his disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded. Then come he to Simon Peter, and Peter saith unto him, Master, dost thou wash my feet? Yahusha answered and said unto him, what I do thou know not now, but thou shalt know hereafter. He tell him, you don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing. Peter saith unto him, thou shalt never wash my feet. Yahusha answered, if I wash thee not, thou hast no part with me. Listen what he tell him. He just told him that if I am not able to serve you, then you don't have any place with me. Because this is what he said. I did not come to be served. I came to serve and to make my life a ransom for many. So you have to sit back and look at not also in the construct of being a leader of a congregation, but also a leader of your household. You cannot tell me that you are the head of your house and you don't know how to serve and that you're selfish. That means you're not fit to lead. We already looked at one of the positions of one of the characteristics of leadership, and that's self-control. Those are three components for effective leadership. You have to serve, you have to be selfless, and you have to have self-control. An individual who doesn't have self-control teaches a whole household to be undisciplined because he's not disciplined. Therefore, you won't be disciplined. That's why we looked at Yah having self-control. That's why we looked at Yahushua having self-control, because they're teaching you to have self-control, because they have self-control, because their house will not be in disarray. So when we turn around and we see Yahushua coming through with service, and then we seeing that he's telling you that a part of your service is for you to be a servant. That if you're chief, so you sit back and look at it. He said the head, because we going with the master's words. Paul said the head of the woman is the man. Every nigga who pick up this book, that's the first thing they scream. But then this man told you, if you chief, to be a servant. So if you the head of the household, wouldn't that make him chief? That means you got to serve. If you don't, you're going to hell. Bottom line to it. Ain't no way around it. You would have been violating this man's commandment. That's not what he didn't tell you to lord over the woman. He didn't tell you to berate the woman. He told you to serve because you cheat. If you can't do that, that means you don't have the Ruach HaKodesh. This man can't dwell in you because you don't understand the example he set. He said he did not come to be served. He came to serve. You're chief, so you have to serve. That's what he taught you. This is the way of salvation. If you're a leader and a commander of the people, then that's what you're supposed to teach your household. This is what the book is right here in our face. But we overlook that because we want to grab the things that we feel are beneficial to our way and what we want. Can't do that. Not if we intend to be like the Son of the living Elohim. And I'm going to show you that again in a moment. Simon Peter saith unto him, Master, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Yahushua saith unto him, he that is washed need not to say to wash his feet, but is clean every whit, and you are clean, but not all. For he knew who should betray him. Therefore said he, you are not all clean. So after he had washed their feet and taken his garments and was sat down again, he said unto them, know ye what I have done unto you? Listen to what this man say. Ye call me master and Lord, and ye say, well, for so I am. He told him, you said right, because that's who I am. Look at his next day. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you also to wash one another's feet. That man said, if I can serve you and I'm over all of you, then there's no reason for any of you not to do it. Do y'all understand what that means? Because this, and we're going to go into the law, and you're going to see this as well, y'all willing, before we get done. That's always been that those who are in authority, that's what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to serve. So if you are a leader or a commander, you're supposed to serve. Whether that's a congregation, whether that's your household. You're supposed to serve. That's what it states. I've been told you this. We looked at that when we looked at what a king is supposed to do. A king's supposed to serve. We've already told you that. The woman's supposed to serve the husband's supposed to serve the wife, and therefore it's mimicking what Yahuwah did, because Yahuwah came through. You've seen that. He said, if you keep my covenant, I'll keep my end of the bargain. He was coming to serve us. He made an agreement that I'm going to serve you. Y'all should know this. It's in your law. Matter of fact, Paul, let's look at Romans. Let me finish his statement. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done unto you. Truly, truly, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his master, and he that is sent is not greater than he that sent him. If you know these things, happy are ye if you do them. So if you know that you're not greater than your wife, even though that she's your servant, so to speak, for lack of a better term, then you would know to serve her back, and blessed are you if you do it. Blessed are you if you do it. You would understand that this is the component of being a man in the eyes of Elohim, not the eyes of the world, in the eyes of Elohim. Being a spiritual man, a righteous man, a godly man. You will understand that. We're not talking about some of the stuff that the people put out there in the world, and that's your personal preference if you choose to do certain stuff for your wife that some people might consider to be a little sappy or a little over the top or a little television based. But your whole life duty as the head of that house is to serve that family, that wife, that children. On top of that, of course, you know, in our culture, sometimes your parents moved in if they were old and they couldn't take care of themselves. You came in there and you took care of them. That's a part of service. That's ministering. You're supposed to understand that. You're supposed to know that. You don't turn your head from that, especially if they are the faith. The book talks about this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's your duty. Don't tell me that you the head of the house and you not no servant. You a little boy pretending to be the head of the house. The same way that false prophets pretend to be the head of Yah's house. You're not fulfilling the role. You're playing the role to get the benefits of which you desire. That is unacceptable for any man. It should be anyway. Where was I finna go? I don't remember. It'll come back to me in a moment, y'all. Very well. Philippians 2 is good enough for the moment. And he also told us that we should serve one another. This is the components of godliness. People may agree with it. People may not. I don't care. It's Yah's word. Take it up with him. All I know is if you desire to be saved, it should be the thing that you emulate. This is why I've always told y'all that people don't really want a virtuous woman or a righteous man, because they not going to really want the standard that this person is going to uphold that you're going to have to meet. Nobody's going to hold your hand and do it for you. You have to have a burning desire within your own mind, heart, and soul to do it for yourself. 2 and 5. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Yahushua HaMashiach, who being in the form of Elohim, thought it not robbery to be equal with Elohim, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant. Now, when we look at the word servant, it's a bed, a bod, I should say. Ayin, Ba, and Dalet. So now with this one here, when you serve, you will be able to experience the son's house, or experience the door, however you want to put it. You know what I'm saying? Or experience the son who is at the door, or whatever the case may be. Because when you serve, you're going to experience Yahusha. So that means we need to look at Yahusha and we need to look at his experience. Because if we say we want to be leaders and commanders, because he said he was a servant. He didn't say he didn't come to be minister. He didn't come to be served. He came to serve. He made that plain. He told his apostles, let me show you something. Luke 17. I done read this before, to y'all before, and it's dealing with people who he talking to his apostles about preaching that word. But everybody can take it with him. Everybody can take it with him and let that rest and marinate in their heart and in their soul. Luke 17 and 7. Just let it marinate in your soul. Because guess what, right? Paying bills don't make you no man. It don't make you no head of no household, because you would have to pay bills whether you were married or not. You know what I'm saying? For a woman to take care of children, whether you had them legitimately, or whether your husband died or whether you were just loose in the street, that don't make you no woman, because them children would have had to been cared for regardless. You know what I'm saying? What makes us men and women is doing the things that's required of a man and woman to do, because those are your responsibilities. Responsibilities that you're going to have to meet whether you in the word or not. Yes, some of those responsibilities are a part of your salvation, but they were going to have to be met regardless. But the minute that we can learn to have a servant's heart, even though you are in a position of strength, or even though you are in a position of greater esteem than the people you are around, is the beginning that you understand the power of the living Elohim through his son Yahushua HaMashiach. Because it said Mashiach didn't make himself of no reputation, but made himself a servant. That's the mind. And he said, let this mind be in you. This is the mind that he had. This is your Lord and Master, the leader and the commander of the people. And he's revealing that the way of life for you is to serve, because that will keep you in a constant state of humility. Because Elohim he told you that cast your cares upon Elohim and he will lift you up in due time. He said he resisteth the proud. He give con or grace unto the humble. He will exalt those who humble themselves. Yahushua humbled himself. Sit back and think about this. Let's just pause for a moment and let this marinate. In John chapter 1, it say the world was made by him and he was in the world and the world knew him not. So think about that. I created this whole earth that I'm standing on. I created the skies, I created the sun, I created the grass, I created the waters. All the beasts that you are eating and using to plow your crops, I made them too. Then on top of that, I made you. And I came down here and formed myself as a man and came here to serve you literally. And I'm greater than all of you. So if a man can come down and do that, and you telling me you can't serve your wife, you can't serve your kids, you're not fit for the kingdom of Elohim. And you're a selfish bastard. You know what I'm saying? Because your God showed himself to be a selfless individual in doing that. So we don't have any reason to be selfish when your God said, I will come die. I will come serve you. You should be serving me, but I'm going to come and serve you. You ain't got no business not doing it at that point. That makes sense to you? That don't make no sense. Not if we say, I want the Ruach, I want to be godly, because it's already set up for a woman to serve. They already supposed to do it because they playing the role of Yasharal. Yasharal already supposed to have been in a humble and subservient position. So it only makes sense that the person who they serving would come and be in a humble position for him to serve them so that they don't feel like, because what are all these brews out here doing? They got these women feeling like they oppressed with the word. You know what I'm saying? Dudes using the word to their advantage to get the things that they want. Yeah, the book say a woman got to obey her husband and everything. But also the book, also, pause. I'll go and grab it for you. I'll go and grab it for you. Come on over here to Ephesians, man. I did grab it for you. I ain't playing no game with it. I didn't want you to know I had that plan since when. Truth be told, I had that plan since last week. When the thought came in my head, whenever I seen the verse that we started with on Wednesday. Ephesians 5:28. So men ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He that love his wife, love himself. No man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourished and cherished it, even as Hamashiach or Yahusha, the body. So I just want you to understand, because what I'm trying to get, and this is for the women too, don't think it's just for men. I want everyone to understand the fact that to be a leader or to have Yahusha in you, certain attributes and characteristics must be manifested, which means you have to take this word and you got to lay it up in your heart. So it said that no man ever hated his wife. He loved his wife. He that loved his wife loved his own body, because men ought to love their wives as a Mashiach loved his wife, that they should nourish her and they should cherish her. This is what Yah did with us. Now, if we go back and look in that wilderness and we go examine that law, guess what we're going to find? You ain't had no manna. He gave it to you. He served it to you. And he served it to you where it wasn't even difficult for you. On the sixth day, he gave you twice as much. When your enemies came for you, he split the Red Sea. He came and served you to make sure you could cross through safely. He said you walked through this wilderness 40 years. Your clothes didn't rot and your shoes didn't get old. I came and I served you. And yet you still murmur against me. Yet you still complain. Yet you still disobey me. Your enemies came to kill you, and I destroyed them all. I didn't ask of anything from you. I didn't take anything from you. All I did was serve you, and every time you needed me, I told you, don't be fearful when your enemies come, for I will fight for you. I gave you water. I gave you wells of water of which you did not dig. I gave you houses of which you did not build. I gave you vineyards of which you did not plant. I came and I served you. The only thing that I asked was that you serve me back. That's all he asked. Do we really pay attention and look at how Yah served us in the wilderness and be able to understand and see that when Yahusha came, how he served us, and that's the example that's been set in Torah from the beginning, is to serve if you're in a position of authority. Our God teaches this. So if we don't follow it, we not of our God. We need to consider that. Just need to consider it. What you do with it is on you, but just consider. Nevertheless, for we are members of his body and of his flesh and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his Abba and his Emma, and shall be joined unto his wife. They two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Hamashiach and the body. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself. And the wife see that she respect or reverence her husband. Because that's what Yahuwah asked you to do, is respect me. So a woman, her husband. But now I'm going to tell you something now. At the same token, Yah gave his wife something to respect. We as men need to make sure that we give our wives something to respect. And what is something to respect but a man who is humble enough to serve his household? A man who is humble enough to provide and protect for his household. A man who is humble enough to instruct his household. You know what I'm saying? You have to look at that. If you want to be the head of something, there's a saying in the book, it say, to whom much is given, much is required. But there's a saying, as heavy as the head that wears the crown. That's the saying. Because there's a lot of responsibility that those who want to be the head. So if you want to be the head of an organization, if you want to be the head of a business, you want to be, if it's your desire, like you say, he that desire the office of a bishop desire a good thing. If it's your desire to be a head of a body of believers, if it's your desire to be a head of a household, being a husband, then you have to be willing to carry the responsibilities and the requirements that are necessary to execute fully in that office. You need to understand, once you get married, it ain't about you no more. Once you have kids, it ain't about you no more. You can no longer think about self. Don't tell me that crap about sometimes you got to be selfish. That's what the world tell you. Y'all never told you that. He never taught you that. So keep that junk outside the house of Elohim. Don't bring that monkey crap in here. You know what I'm saying? That's not what our God teach us. He don't teach you to be selfish ever at no time. It's only one thing he teach you to be selfish about, and that is saving your soul. That's the only thing he teach you to be selfish about. Saving your soul. Period. We sit back, we black people, we complain about the stuff in our communities, this, that, then, the third, where it starts with men serving and leading. That's where it begins with. If we want to have effective change, that's where it begins with. It starts as simply as leading in your household. And that's serving, that's being selfless, and that's having self-control. You have to take a look at that and set that standard, because that's what Yahushua did in his household. He was faithful in his household. Matter of fact, since I said that, Hebrew chapter 3. I know some people might not like what I got to say. I could care less. It's what Yah teach. We should love it. That's what he teaches. That's what he wanted to be. If we want to become like him, that's what we ought to do. Hebrew chapter 3. 3 and 1 is sufficient. What I got to hold? John 13, I finished that. We go to John 15. I need to dig off in some examples real quick. I need to do. Wherefore, Kadesh brethren, partakers of the calling of Shamahim, consider the apostle and the high priest of our profession, Yahushua HaMashiach, who was faithful to him that appointed him, as also Moses was faithful in all his house. For Moses was counted worthy of, for this man was counted worthy of more esteem than Moses, and so much as he hath built the house, hath more honor than the house. For every house is builded by some man, but he that built all things is Elohim. Moses truly was faithful in all his house as a servant, for a testimony of those things which were spoken after. But Hamashiach is a son over his own house, whose house we are, if we hold fast the confidence, the rejoicing of the hope firm unto the end. It said Moses was truly faithful as a servant, that was a testimony of the things, hey Shirley, that should be spoken after. So that means that we would need to turn around and look at Moses being a servant and how he was faithful in his service. Let's look at it. Let's go back to the beginning. Praise Yah for the word. Let's take ourselves to Exodus. Yahuwah is good. His mercy endures forever. And the thing, matter of fact, before we do that, Romans 15 and 1. Romans 15 and 1. Before we look at Exodus chapter 4, Romans 15 and 1. Yah is good now. That's if we want to be perfect. Now, we don't want to be perfect. Yah ain't good because you don't care, because you don't deem his word to be good. His debar ain't good to you. Don't bring no joy to your heart. Oh, no, it ain't on, Lisa. I don't know why it's doing that. It's smooth over here. You ain't get no troubles over here. Oh, no problem, brother. No problem. We're in Romans 15:1, brother. We're in Romans 15:1. I'm glad I caught you, man, when you put that up there. Sometimes I don't catch them comments, so forgive me for that. Lisa, just let me know what it is. You can call Shayla's phone if you want to. Shayla's phone there. You can't call her phone. You can call Shirley's phone. She said, no, don't call her phone. She expecting a phone call from the Sandman so she can go to sleep. We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak and not to please ourselves. There it is. If you say you strong and you a leader or a commander, you not ought to please yourself. You ought not to please yourself. He said, let every one of us please his neighbor for his good to edification. For even Hamashiach pleased not himself. But as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell on me. Let's read that again from the top. We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak and not to please ourselves. We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak and not to please ourselves. Now let me show y'all something since I said that. Pause. 1 Peter chapter 3. 1 Peter chapter 3. 1 Peter chapter 3. Verse 4. You know, we were talking about this last week, right? You know, if y'all women would be comfortable with your husband asking you to call him Lord. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you that that's a personal preference thing for every individual man. So I can't say why some would or why some wouldn't. Ain't my place. I ain't going to say it. Hey, Shirley. Very well then. Very well. So, you know, then with me personally, I wouldn't ask mine to do that. If she did it on her own volition, I'd probably tell her to stop. Do you know what I'm saying? But everybody's different, so. But look at what he said. But let it be the hidden man of the heart, that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet ruach, which is in the sight of Elohim, great price. Now that's just mentioning something. We told you this before. It's a great price for a woman of Elohim to have a quiet spirit and a humble spirit. Elohim finds that to be very valuable. That take you back to where he say, who can find a virtuous woman? Her price is far above rubies. You know what I'm saying? That takes another place where it tell you that a contentious woman is like a continual drop. Or that it's better to dwell on the housetop than in a house with a woman who likes to contend. Now, when you looking at something that's like to contend, again, that's a woman who just wants to argue for no absolute reason. You have some very evil women on this earth. I pray that none of you dear women are evil or like that, because I don't know what you do when you dwell in your houses, and I don't care to know unless you ask me. And then if you're wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. If you're not, then I'm not. But I definitely don't care what you got going on in your personal life. That's why it's personal. For after this manner in the old time, the Kadesh women also who trusted Elohim adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him master, whose daughters ye are, as long as you do well and are not afraid with any amazement. Likewise, you husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge. Give honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. Now look at what he told you, right? He said, give honor unto the weaker vessel. So that means you the stronger vessel. So if you the stronger vessel, then you ought not to please yourself, but that you should bear her weaknesses, or you should carry her burdens. This is what he's telling you, because he said that we dealt with dwelling with your wife according to knowledge, so you gentlemen should be well versed in that. Yah forbid I have to revisit it. But when he tell you that, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, knowing that y'all are to inherit together the gift of life, if you don't do this, then guess what happens? Your prayers are not going to be heard. Now he's talking to the men. He ain't talking to the woman. He ain't telling this woman her prayer is going to be blocked. He telling you that you're going to end up blocking you and your wife's prayer because you stupid. We always saying stupid because you're not dwelling with her according to knowledge. We done dealt with that. If you dwelling with her according to knowledge, you dwelling with her according to the word. And if you're dwelling with her according to the word, then we're going to go back and read Romans 15 again. We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak and not to please ourselves. Let every one of us please his neighbor for his good to edification. For even as a Mashiach pleased not himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell on me. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. So that means that Hamashiach didn't please himself. Let's turn around and look and see if Moses, who we were starting to look at first, Exodus chapter 4, if he pleased himself as a leader of the people. Did he seek to please himself? Or did he serve? Exodus chapter 4. I get that eventually. Matter of fact, make that Exodus chapter 3. 3 and 1 is fine. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. He fed the flock on the backside of the desert and came to the Mount Elohim, even to Horeb. The Malachim of Yahuwah appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush, and he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. When Yahuwah saw that he turned aside to see, Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. He said, Here am I. He said, Draw not nigh, neither put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place where thou stand is Kadesh ground. Moreover, he said, I am the Elohim of thy Abbas, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, the Elohim of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Elohim. So this is when Yah is stepping to Moses initially. I want you to drop down to verse 10. Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou may bring forth my people, the children of Yasharal, out of Mizraim. Moses said unto Elohim, Who am I, that I should go unto Pharaoh, that I should bring forth the children of Yasharal out of Mizraim? And he said, Certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee that I have sent thee, that when thou hast brought forth the people out of Mizraim, you shall serve Elohim upon this mountain. So this is when Yah has told Moses, that he will be a leader of the people. See, pause. Acts chapter 7. We'll come back to Exodus. Acts chapter 7. Because remember what we read in Hebrews. Hebrews said that Moses' service was a testimony of what was to come after. So the person who was going to lead out of bondage and be over the house would be a servant. So we need to consider that. If we're going to be over the house, then we have to be a servant. We have to be selfless. You can't think about self. We're going to look at that where Yah got a little agitated with Moses because he was thinking about himself in the situation in a moment. Acts chapter 7, probably about verse 30. Make it 20. Oh, never mind. I was a little too high. Pick that up probably about verse 27 and 20. Acts 7 and 20. Acts 7 and 20. In which time Moses was born and was exceeding fair and nourished up in his Abba's house 3 months. When he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him and nourished him for her own son. Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptian and was mighty in words and deeds. When he was a full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Yasharal. Seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him and avenged him that was oppressed and smote the Egyptian. For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that by his hand, that Elohim by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not. And the next day he showed himself unto them as they strove, and would have set him at one again, saying, Sirs, ye are brethren, why do you wrong one another? But he that did his neighbor wrong thrust him away and said, Who made thee a ruler and judge over us? When we look at the word for ruler, well, we'll get to that in a moment. For ruler, it's mashal. I want you to come up back, since we did that, come over here to Micah 5 and 1. That word mashal is Amin, Mashan, and Lamad. So it's that ruach, or that water, is going to pair you to the teaching. So a ruler is going to pair you to the teaching of the shepherd. Either way it goes, the same thing with a commander. It's bringing you to Yah. So when we read that those of us that are strong ought to spare the infirmities of the weak and not to please ourselves, then if you the head of a body or you the head of a household, your job is to pair them to your God. That's the purpose. And if you're going to do that, then you're going to emulate your God by serving, because that is what he is teaching us. If we pay attention and look at the nuance and stop being idiotic, I suppose. Micah 5:1. And not being selfish and not looking at where I can get the best advantage or how I can get my own way. And that's on both sides of the ledger. That's male and female. Micah 5:1. Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. He have laid siege against us. They shall smite the judge of Yasharah with a rod upon the cheek. But thou, Bethlehem Marapta, though thou be little among the thousands of Yehuda, yet out of thee shall come forth unto me he that is to be ruler in Yasharah, whose going forth have been from old and from everlasting. Therefore will he give them up until the time that which he should travail have brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Yasharah. So, and we look at it and we just read that so you can see where the word for ruler come from in that particular space. We want to rule and we want to be over things, but then we don't want to do the things that a ruler has to do. Let's go back to Exodus, because we're not going to be ad nauseum with examples. We could do that, but that would be a little overkill. Let's go to Exodus chapter 4. We know in Exodus chapter 4, Exodus 4 and verse 10, that Yah was giving Moses a little, equipping him with a little signs. But let's look at something of what Moses tried to move and get out of his service. Moses said unto Yahuwah, O my master, I'm not eloquent, neither heretofore nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and slow of tongue. Yahuwah said unto him, who have made man's mouth, or who make the dumb or the deaf, or seeing or the blind, have not I Yahuwah? Now therefore go, and I will be thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say. And he said, O my master, send, I pray thee, by the hand of whom thou wilt send. And the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Moses. He said, is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? I know that he can speak well. Also, behold, he come forth to meet thee. And when he see thee, he will be glad in his heart. So, he kind of agitated Yah at that particular time, because Moses was trying to get out of what he had to go do. A lot of time, people who have to serve tend to want to get out of what they have to go do, because their life is going to be completely dedicated to that particular service. Since I said that, let's go back over here to Luke 17, because I did not read it. Luke 17 and 7. And we're going to look at a couple of things that Moses stated in the midst of his service. And then we'll go look at Yahusha in the midst of his service. If I was in the right book, we might be able to read. But I ain't in the right book. Luke 17 and 7. But which of you having a servant plowing or feeding cattle will say unto him by and by, when he is come from the field, go and sit down to meat? And will not rather say unto him, make ready wherewith I may sup, and gird thyself and serve me, till I have eaten and drunken, and afterwards thou shalt eat and drink. Doth he thank that servant because he did the things that were commanded him? I trow not. So likewise, when you shall have done all those things which are commanded you, say, we are unprofitable servants. We have done that which is our duty to do. Oh, absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Service is taking care of your own family. Absolutely. When you look at what he just stated, he said, I'm let's sit back and look at it, right? And I'm glad you said that, because it was leading to where I was going. You the head of your household. You get married. You serving your wife. We want accolades for it. Because Yahushua is telling his apostles, you should not be doing this for appreciation or recognition. You're the unprofitable servant. You're doing what it is your duty to do. It is your duty to serve. Listen to what he said. Look at verse 8. He said, would I not rather say unto him, make ready wherewith I may sup and gird thyself and serve me till I have eaten and drunk it, and afterwards thou shalt eat and drink? Doth he thank that servant because he did the things that were commanded him? I trod not. No, that's what he's saying. So likewise, when you've done all those things which are commanded, you say, we are unprofitable servants. We have done that which was our duty to do. So when you turn around and you say, I want a wife and children, it's your duty to serve them. You shouldn't be looking for no thanks because that's what you signed up for. Yahushua wasn't walking around looking for you to thank him for serving him. That's what he signed up for. That's what he signed up for. That's why he said he fashioned himself as a servant. He humbled himself. That's your duty. If you don't want that duty, don't sign up for it. You have to look at that. Now, he's talking to his apostles about preaching the word. But we can take that and apply that to every situation because he told you that he that is chiefest among you, let him be your servant. Experience the Son. When you experience it, when you are a bod and you're a servant and you experience the Son, and the Son was hung on the door, because you consider it to hang with the dalet, then you experience the Son's sacrifice, which was his service. So let him that is strong not please himself, but to please the weak. As the Mashiach pleased not himself. Because what was his pleasure? He was in the flesh. He said, Abba, if it be possible, let this cup pass. Nevertheless, not my will be done, but thy will be done. Let me continue my service unto my wife, unto my household. Let me sacrifice my life for my household. This is a part of service. This is a part of leadership. Leaders sacrifice. Leaders are selfless. Leaders serve. Leaders have self-control. This is the attributes that they possess. That's why I mentioned that on Wednesday. We the only people. Oh, I missed that. Type that again, brother. I didn't catch it. We the only people that primarily, like I mentioned to y'all Wednesday, choose a spouse based off your loins. And if you make decisions and choose mates based off your loins, you're a person of low intelligence. We don't look for leadership qualities. Women have leadership qualities, best believe it. If you see a woman who can serve, if you can see a woman who is selfless, if you can see a woman who has self-control, this is a virtuous woman. This is a strong woman. She possesses leadership qualities. Because there's no law or no rule to say a woman can't lead. Because leadership is service. She gonna lead no congregation. She can lead other women. Leading other women ain't got nothing to do with teaching no word. She can lead children. That ain't got nothing to do with teaching no word. She teaching that word by living it and showing the manifestation of the living Elohim in her heart and in her spirit and in her behavior. Some of y'all got leader women and you're too stupid to recognize it because you can't see and you can't read and you can't think. Because the only thing you're thinking with is your penis and your lusts, the things that you want. Can't do that. Not and be effective to be the service of the living God. No, you can't do that. Come on back. Let's look at some of Moses' service over here, man. What would we like to choose? I want you to come over here to number 16. I want you to look at a statement Moses made. Number 16. We ain't got to stick at Exodus. I can move around with it. Where's my verse at for that, man? Number 16. That wasn't 28. Boy, them cries ain't real. Dang, I can't find the verse that I want. Dang, say? I'm trying to remember the verse that I want, man. It might not be. I know it's in number 16. I know I ain't tripping. 16 and 9. I'll just go from here. Number 16 and 9. He say, seemeth be it but a small thing unto you that the Elohim of Yasharal has separated you from the congregation of Yasharal to bring you near to himself to do the service of the tabernacle of Yahuwah and to stand before the congregation to minister unto them. And he have brought thee near to him and all thy brethren, the sons of Levi, with thee, and seek ye the priesthood also. For which cause both thou and all thy company to gather together against Yahuwah, and what is Aaron that you murmur against him? Moses sent to call Dathan and Abiram and the sons of Elab, which said, we will not come up. It is a small thing that thou hast brought us up out of the land that flow with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness, except thou make thyself altogether a prince over us. When we look at it now, they saying that they saying that Moses is making himself a ruler. Now the verse that it was in my head, which I have not ran across yet, is that Moses said, did I bear all this people myself, or did I carry them in my bosom, as if I birthed them? Because they're coming at Moses on the tip of that Moses is setting himself up to be greater over the people, not paying attention that he came and served these people. Now, the word for prince is nasi. It's also a word for ruler. You have a noon, a shan, and a yah with that. So when you look at someone who is a ruler, they're going to pair that's the son pairing themselves with the work. When you look at the son of life paired to the work, because anybody who's who's going to be a ruler in Yah's household is always going to be paired to that work. And that work is the work of Elohim. And when you do the work of Elohim, you're going to serve. In Leviticus 25 and 50, let's just look at it. Let's just pause for 1 second. We'll come back to number 16. Leviticus 25 and 50. And 55, actually. Just 55. Leviticus 25 and 55. I just want y'all to see that real quick live. Matter of fact, come over here we'll back yourself up to 25 and 38. Look at what he says, right? I am Yahuwah your Elohim, which brought you forth out of the land of Mizraim to give you the land of Canaan and to be your Elohim. If thy brother that dwell by thee be waxen poor and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant, but as a hired servant, and as a sojourner he shall be with thee. And he shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee, and then he shall be departed from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family, and to the possession of his father shall he return. For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Mizraim. They shall not be sold as bondmen. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but thou shalt fear thy Elohim. You can't sit back and say you a leader of anything of Yahuwah's and rule it harshly, because we his servants. That's why Peter told you not to lord over Yahuwah's heritage when he was talking about pastors and shepherds, because these are not your servants. They're Yah's servants. You are a servant to these people. These people are not a servant to you. They're not tributaries to you. Your wife is not a tributary to you. Your husband is not a tributary to you. You're supposed to serve each other. Show forth the power of Elohim in that aspect. So when we look at verse 55 of Leviticus 25, he say, for unto me the children of Yasharal are servants. They are my servants, who I brought forth out of the land of Mizraim. I'm Yahuwah your Elohim. So we are his servants. Your wife is not your servant. Your husband is not your servant. The congregation is not a servant to the preacher. The preacher is a servant to the congregation. And because he's a servant to the congregation, because he's a servant to Yah. Come on back to number 16. So again, when we look at commander, the commander is revealing the way. What did Moses do? He taught them the law. A prince, Nasi. This is the son of life pairing you to the word. He was teaching them the commandments. Now we're going to look at Yahushua doing it in a different fashion. So, of course, you know these people he mentioned here in number 16 about the Levites doing service. When you look at what he told in Deuteronomy 17, right? That Deuteronomy 17, ain't it? Where the king at? That Deuteronomy 17. When you look at Deuteronomy 17, he told you what a king ought to do. Because we dealt with that before. A king is supposed to serve. When you look at the Levites, do you know what the Levites were supposed to do? I seen the brother today. How old do you think a Levite was before they started teaching the word? According to the law, you know? 25 years old. And how long did they have to serve for? Till they were 50. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that a person studied Torah for 25 years. That means they couldn't minister in the tabernacle until they were 25. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't do it. When remember, we talked about this before. When you look at a Levite, what was their whole duty in life to do? Serve the people. That means they had to do all the service in the tabernacle. They had to do all the sacrifices. They had to teach the people the word, and they didn't have no inheritance amongst the people because Yah was their inheritance. That's what their whole duty was to do, was to serve. We're going to look at that in a moment. I didn't want y'all to hear that. And what tribe was Moses from? He was from Levi. So, of course, it's his whole duty to serve. It's all he doing, and all these men sitting back looking at, oh, he made himself a prince over us. Look at verse 14. Look at how them niggas running their mouth. He said, moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land that flow with milk and honey, or given us an inheritance of field and vineyards. Will I put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up. Moses was very wroth and said unto Yahuwah, respect thou their offering. I have not taken one ass from them, neither have I hurt one of them. Look at what he said, right? He said that he is serving. He said, I ain't took nothing from them. I ain't hurt none of them, yet they run their mouths. He said all these things. Hey, I can't remember what that verse is, man. That's what we need. I did not bear these people in my own bosom. And I know it's right here in number 16. Nevertheless, let's come over here to Numbers 18 and let's look at a little bit of some of what these priests got going on. Let's look at their duties and let's look at their service. Pause. He said duty. She got duty on her? She's free from duty. Verse 1, Numbers 18. We'll look at what it say by the king. There ain't a lot to say by the king in their service. Yahuwah said unto Aaron, thou and thy sons and thy father's house with thee shall bear the iniquity of the sanctuary. Thou and thy sons with thee shall bear the iniquity of your priesthood. The brethren also of the tribe of Levi, the tribe of their father, bring thou with thee, that they may be joined unto thee, and minister unto thee. And thou and thy sons with thee shall minister before the tabernacle of witness, and they shall keep the charge, and the charge of all the tabernacle. Only they shall not come nigh the vessels of the sanctuary and the altar, that neither they nor ye also die. And ye shall be joined unto thee, and keep the charge of the tabernacle of the congregation, for all the service of the tabernacle, and a stranger shall not come nigh unto you. You shall keep the charge of the sanctuary, the charge of the altar, that there be no wrath any more upon the children of Yasharal. I behold, and I have taken your brethren the Levites from among the children of Yasharal to give you as a gift for Yahuwah to do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. Now, we're not going to run down every single solitary service through the script, but we know that they were responsible for the cleaning and uncleaning the people. They were responsible for dealing with the Urim and Thummim and seek the word from Yahuwah. They were responsible for teaching the people. This is why they gave them tithes and offerings, because their whole life was dedicated to service. That's why he went off on them in Malachi chapter 2, because he said they corrupted the priesthood, they corrupted the service, because just like with the prophets, they were judging for hire. They were teaching for hire. That's why he tells you not to be greedy for filthy lucre in the epistles of Peter. This is why he tells you that a bishop can't be greedy for filthy lucre, because that can't be your motivation, because you a servant. Once you do that there, you for hire. Once you for hire, you'll say whatever the person's paying you wants you to say. What's another spot we can look at Moses serving these people? We know he served them up that good old law. We can read in Numbers 24, I should say, where he was serving them by bringing them into the bond of the covenant. Let's go to Deuteronomy 17. Let's look at some of the stuff the king's supposed to do. Deuteronomy 17:14. When thou art come into the land which Yahuwah thy Elohim give thee, thou shalt possess it. and shalt dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me like as the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in no wise set a king over thee, whom Yahuwah the Elohim, thou shalt in any wise, set him a king over thee, which Yahuwah the Elohim shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou may not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Mizraim, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as Yahuwah have said unto you, you shall henceforth return no more that way. The first thing he telling him is that this person can't be covetous or selfish. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. And it shall be when he sit upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this Torah, the book, out of that which is set before the priests, the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear Yahuwah his Elohim, and to keep all the words of his Torah and these statutes, to do them. That his heart be not lifted up above his brethren, that he not turn aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Yasharal. So he's supposed to know the law just like the Levites supposed to know the law. Now, what was the king that was asked to serve, Will, and he chose not to serve? Chose to listen to his friends instead. Rehoboam. Because didn't he tell him if he would like that the people would serve him forever? Let me tell you something, right? This is what Yahushua did. This was make him an effective leader. Any of y'all done worked on the job. You work at Amazon, don't you? You ever had a manager that just told y'all what to do and never came to help y'all? How you felt about that manager that told y'all what to do and never came to help y'all? Huh? So you don't really care to do nothing for him, huh? You ever had a manager on your job that didn't just tell y'all what to do but came down there and did it with you? How you felt about the manager that came down there and did it with you? So therefore, it's easy to follow him in it. It's easy to, when he asks, can you do this for me, you'll do it for him. This is what Yahuwah has done. Hold on, Paul. Hebrews 2 and 14. This is what he means by saying that, because that's what Rehoboam didn't want to do, didn't he? That's what the old men told him to do, right? They told him to serve. He said, I ain't finna serve these niggas. My homeboy said, be a selfish bastard. Because guess what I'm going to do? Be a selfish bastard. His kingdom didn't last long, did it? No, it didn't. Hebrews 2 and 14. Oh boy, we don't have an hour. What time is it? About right. For as much then as children are partakers of flesh and blood, he like also himself likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had power of death, that is the devil, and deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage. For truly he took not on him the nature of Malachim, but took on him the seed of Abraham. Wherefore in all things it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest, and the things pertaining to Elohim to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. For in that he himself hath suffered being tempted, he is able to be a succor or an aid and a help and a relief to them that are tempted. So again, that takes us back to the commander and the prince. The prince is the son of life who is paired to the work. The commander is the one who's revealing the way of life or the sacrifice to the people, because he is a servant, because he's experiencing the son being hung on the door, or the son being sacrificed, or being served, or him serving. That's why he said it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren, because he came to suffer. He didn't come for no other reason but to do this. When you look at Moses' whole job was to do what? You think that's an easy job to lead these people up out of here? I got to go to Pharaoh, tell Pharaoh about himself. You know what I'm saying? Now Pharaoh want to kill me. Y'all want to kill me because Pharaoh busting you upside your head now, because I done told him about himself. You know what I'm talking about? I got to come work all these miracles that y'all got me wanting to work, which make these people don't want to fool with us, which making y'all even matter because they making it hard on y'all. You know what I'm saying? Whole time I'm right here with y'all. It ain't like I ain't negotiating with y'all when all this going down. You know what I'm talking about? When you cross the Red Sea, who was right there with you? He was right there with you, wasn't he? You asked for the manna. Who went in and pleaded for y'all to get the manna? When y'all wanted to kill you, who pleaded on your behalf? What else can I think that this man do? When you asked for water, who asked for water on your behalf? The one time that he forgot to serve, that's what got him booted on up out of there. And why did he forget it? Because y'all were working his nerve. Nevertheless, come on back. Where we was at? I saved my page. I did good this time. I ain't lose my page. I just want you to think about that, right? Because this is rife all in our law. Let's look at a couple times how Mashiach served. Let's look at a Mashiach not pleasing itself, but bearing the infirmities of the weak. Let's go to Matthew 9 first. He could have easily pleased himself. Matthew 9:1. He chose to serve the people. We talking about becoming like Elohim. That's it. That's all about. We got more things to talk about serving and leaders and all of that there. And y'all willing, we'll deal with it on Shabbat. But I'm going to get as much in as I can right on the other half of Shabbat. I'm trying to get as much as I can right now, though. And he entered into a ship and passed over and came into his own city. And behold, they brought him a man sick of the palsy lying on the bed. Yahushua, seeing their faith, said unto the sick of the palsy, Son, be of good cheer, thy sins be forgiven thee. And behold, a certain of the scribes said within themselves, This man blasphemed. Yahushua, knowing their thoughts, said, Wherefore think ye evil in your hearts? For whether it is easier to say, Thy sins be forgiven thee, or to say, Arise and walk. But that you may know that the Son of Man hath power on earth to forgive sins, then he saith to the sick of the palsy, Arise, take up thy bed, and go into thine house. He arose and departed to his house. When the multitude saw it, they marveled, and they esteemed Elohim, which had given such power unto men. This man got, let me tell you something, right? Look at something that he said to his disciples. Matthew chapter 10. Let me make sure that's what I'm at. Let me make sure that's what I got. That's not in Matthew 10. I'm trying to, the words is in my head, but the spot that I want, I'm trying to remember. I can't recall. We don't have time to go all through it. Yahushua told his apostles, hold on, it's coming to mind. It is coming to mind just a second. No, I was incorrect. Yahushua told his apostles, and you could come to get numbers, Matthew 15 while we over here. Yahushua told his apostles that they shouldn't rejoice that the unclean spirits obey them, but that they should rejoice that the kingdom of Shamahim is preached. He told them this for the simple fact that it would keep them humble to realize that you continue on your service. Because sometimes when you're able to do certain things, you rejoice so hard that you forget why you're doing it and what you're supposed to do. And he had to remind them of that. The spirits is coming out. We got this power that's been given unto men. And he had to remind them, you don't need to rejoice because you have this power. Rejoice that the power of Elohim is made manifest, because this power that you've been given is a part of your service to esteem your God. Same power that was given unto Moses. Moses had a thankless job. He had to deal with all the massive, wicked machinations of a stiff-necked people. And he served them all the way to the end. The only thing he didn't do was bring them into the land. Matthew 15:32. Then Yahushua called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat. And I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. And his disciples said unto him, Whence should we have so much bread in the wilderness as to fill a so great multitude? Yahushua saith unto them, How many loaves have ye? They said 7 and a few little fishes. He commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground, and he took the 7 loaves and the fishes and gave thanks and brake them and gave to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat and were filled. And they took up the broken meat that were left, 7 baskets full. And they did eat with 4,000 besides women and children. And he sent the multitudes away, and they came into the Ghost of Magdala. So this goes back to what we were also mentioning, right? They served these people. He didn't say, thank me, this, that, then, the third. Go to John 6 and 26. He did what it was his duty to do because he's a servant. It's my duty to feed these people. It's my duty to care for these people. It's my duty to serve these people. I don't seek it for thanks. I don't do it for praise. You take a woman and you look this woman in her face and you say, I want you to be my wife. I want to be with you for the rest of my physical existence. You're taking on a sacred duty. You're taking on a sacred responsibility. You're saying, I am responsible for the direction and care of this individual. It's not just words you speak at a ceremony. It's not just a license you sign your name to. You're saying, I'm taking on a responsibility. The responsibility to serve this individual, to protect this individual, to nurture this individual, to cherish this individual. And not only that, but any offspring that we may produce. It is my job to sacrifice for them. I owe a responsibility to them. Therefore, because of this, I will manifest my love towards them and the effective application of my service towards them. This is why he said, greater love have no man than this, that a man lay his life down for his friends. That was the greatest application of his service, that I'm willing to sacrifice my life for the person who I profess my love for. So we really have to turn around and look at that, because leadership is service, and Yahushua manifested that to us. Our Elohim manifested that to us, whether it was through Moses, whether it was through Elijah, whether through Isaiah, whether through it was Jeremiah, or any of the prophets of old. We don't look at those attributes as saying, that's what I want in a man. And I mention this here because I was listening to these women talk on this video, and this woman was talking about, if this man can't please me sexually, I can't be with him. So nigga, and the dude who was sitting there as they were having this conversation was like, well, shoot, that means, shoot, if you got slick back Willie and he knocking your back loose and he the worst man walking, it don't even matter to you, because you getting a tingle in between your legs. You could care less what manner of man this is. This is the man who got to teach your children. This is the man who's responsible for the rearing and molding of future generations. How can you say you're an effective man and you don't even think about your great-great-great-grandchildren, even though you ain't had them yet? Because Abraham definitely thought to many generations ahead of him, because he know Yahuwah told him that he'd be the father of many nations. Yah said, I know him. He'll keep the way of Yahuwah and teach his household justice and judgment, because he wanted his household to lay hold to the covenant of which Yah swore to him. He wasn't thinking just about himself. Isaac wasn't thinking just about himself. You can see the service that these men had for their wives when they turn around and say, tell them that you my sister, because it was more important for me to do this here for them to kill us, or for these men to rape you and savage you. You can't walk around and say you want to be a leader and please yourself. That's not the way of Elohim. That's not what he taught us. You can't be an Elohim and be selfish. At that point, you contrary to the spirit of Elohim. And the law says if you walk contrary to him, he'll walk contrary to you. What was I at? I said John 6 and 26. It's just something to consider. It's just something to weigh. We talking about being like Yahushua. We ain't talking about being mere men. We're talking about being the sons and daughters of the living Elohim. If that's our desire, then we should take this man's words and move forward and manifest them in our physical beings, that his light might shine, that men everywhere may know that the living Elohim is Yahuwah, and his son, our Savior, his Hamashiach, our King, and our ruler is Yahushua. And we should strive to take on his nature, that we might receive the Ruach HaKadosh and be quickened to everlasting life, to be counted worthy to enter into the gates of the kingdom, to have right to the tree of life, to inquire in his temple, to be partakers of his life, and to sing praises to his mighty Kadesh name, and behold his face with his mark in our forehead. 6 and 22 is sufficient. The day following, when the people which stood on the other side of the sea saw that there was none of the boat there, save the one whereof his disciples were entered, and that Yahushua went not with his disciples into the boat, but that the disciples were gone away alone. Howbeit there came other boats from Tiberias nigh unto the place where they did eat after that. The master had given thanks. When the people therefore saw that Yahushua was not there, neither his disciples, they also took shipping and came to Capernaum, seeking Yahushua. When they found him on the other side, they said unto him, Rabbi, when come thou hither? Yahushua answered them and said, Truly, truly, I say unto you, you seek me not because you saw the miracles, but because you did eat the loaves and were filled. Labor not for the meat which perish, but for the meat which endure unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him Elohim Abba sealed. Then they said unto him, What shall we do that we might work the works of Elohim? Remember, we talking about being paired. The Son of life will pair you to the work. Listen what he said. Yahushua answered and said unto them, This is the work of Elohim, that we believe on him whom he hath sent. So the prince or the ruler is pairing you to what? The work. What is the work? Come over here to John 11. Look at son what he said. Now notice what he told them. And he said, you didn't come for the power, Elohim. You came to eat. Not one time did he say anything about him serving them or being upset. He didn't even care about them coming. He just knew their intent of what they was coming for was wrong. You wasn't coming looking for salvation. You were coming looking for something to put in your belly. You should have came around here looking for Yah. Now, why did I say that? Because you shouldn't be coming around every Saturday afternoon looking for your friends, looking for a hangout on the Shabbat. You should be coming looking for Yah. You should be coming looking for the bread that fills to everlasting life, the meat that don't never perish. That's what you there for. That's what you there for. If you ain't there for the word, why you coming? If anything can distract your attention from the word, why you there? Because clearly that's not what you're here for. Nothing is more important than this man's word. Your wife ain't, your husband ain't, your kids ain't, your job ain't. Ain't nothing in your life more important than your soul. I would hope it ain't. If it is, it's a problem. The problem being, you ain't going to save your soul. It's not the first and foremost thing to you. John 11:5. Now Yahushua loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. And when he heard, therefore, that he was sick, he abode 2 days still in the same place where he was. And you know why he loved them so much? Because they served him. They believed. They obeyed. We know that from what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Then after that, he saith to his disciples, Let us go into Yehuda again. His disciples say unto him, Master, the Yahudim of late have sought to stone thee. And don't go thou hither again? Yahushua answered, Are there not 12 hours in a day? If any man walk in the day, he stumble not, because he see the light of the world. But if a man walk in the light, he stumble, because there is no light in him. That wasn't what I wanted. That was not the one that I wanted. I think it's in D what I wanted. That was not what I wanted. Man, the verse that I was thinking about, that I can't call my head. He said, the night cometh when no man can work. When no man can work. Because he was talking about his death. While there's light, because Yahushua is the light of the world, then there's able for you to work. There's time for you to be able to put the work in if that's what you're seeking after. And we have to ask, because if you're seeking after Elohim, that means you're seeking to serve Elohim. And if you're seeking to serve Elohim, that means you're submitting yourself unto his authority, under his rulership. His rulership is to reveal unto you life, and in the process of revealing that, he's revealing how he's serving you. Let's go to John 15 of what I mentioned beforehand. Listen to what this man stated, right? I pick you up at John 15. Look at another thing, John 15:11. Let's look at something that the master told his apostles about him being a servant. He said, These things have I spoken unto you, that your joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another, as I have loved you. Greater love have no man than this, that a man lay his life down for his friends. Ye are my friends if you do whatsoever I command you. Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant know not what his master do. But I've called you friends. For all things I have heard of my Abba, I have made known unto you. So why is that important? We turn around and we look at it. He said, if you're my servants, then you don't know what I do because I'm your ruler. He said, but if I, your ruler, say you're not my servant, but you're my friend, then I tell you everything that I do. So you had to sit back and look at that. We are his servants, yet as his servants, and he's the ruler of the household, he makes known to us all things because that's a part of his service. So we have to sit back and we have to take that into account when that's a part of our service to do the same thing. Meaning to make all things known to your household of what it is, the vision of the household is, the direction of what the household is, to be communicating and to impart what it is easy for them to follow. You can't follow a vision that you don't know. You can't follow a vision that's murky and cloudy. That's not what Yahuwah did in his service. That's not what Yahushua did in his service. He made it plain. So we have to make it plain. We have to impart. Now let's go to the one mother part about the service, which is the sacrifice. You have to sacrifice for your household. You have to sacrifice for the body of believers if you're going to lead them, if you're going to serve them. It's what you have to do. John 16, verse 16. We'll get that because since we right over here by it. A little while and you shall not see me. Again, a little while and you shall see me, because I go to Abba. Then said some of his disciples among themselves, what is this that he saith unto us? A little while and you shall not see me. Again, a little while and you shall see me, because I go to Abba. They said, therefore, what is this that he say a little while? We cannot tell what he say. Now Yahushua knew that they were desirous to ask him, and he said unto them, do you inquire among yourselves of that I said? A little while you shall not see me, and again a little while you shall see me. Truly, truly, I say unto you that ye shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. You shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. A woman, when she is in travail, hath sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she remember no more the anguish for joy that a man is born into the world. And you now therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and your joy no man take from you. And in that day you shall ask me nothing. Truly, truly, I say unto you, that whatsoever you shall ask Abba in my name, he will give it unto you. Heretofore you have asked nothing in my name. Ask and you shall receive, that your joy may be full. Now he's talking about his death and his resurrection. He's letting them know that y'all going to be sorrowful in the day that I die, and the day that I resurrect. He said, and notice the key point what he said, you never asked for anything in my name while I was here with you. But when I resurrect from the dead, you may do so. And whatever you ask of me, I will do it unto you, because I will serve you the same way that you have served me. And in my service, in my death, I'll be able to resurrect and serve you for eternity. He told us that if the man who is the chiefest one amongst us can wash our feet, we can serve one another. That's the thing that he taught us, that this is the effective way to lead. To serve, to sacrifice, to be selfless. Because the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell upon me. He said, John the Baptist said, behold, the Lamb of Elohim that take away the sins of the world. That's what he said. He said, for this cause was I born, and for this cause I came into the world. He came into the world for no other purpose than to die. He came into the world for no other purpose than to serve. That man never sought out his own pleasure. He never sought accolades or any thanks or appreciation from anybody. He came to serve. When the people were hungry, he fed them. When the people needed to be healed, he healed them. When the people needed to be taught, he taught them. The people tried to kill him, he continued to serve. His service said he had to die, therefore he hung up on a tree and died for our sake. Yet not only can we not serve him by being obedient to him and faithful to him, but we can't even serve our wives. We can't even serve our children. We can't even serve our husbands. We can't even serve our friends. We can't even serve the people that we say are brothers and sisters in the word. But yet we say we the servants of the living Elohim. We're not following the example of which he set. He said that Moses was an example of a testimony which should be spoken after, of a man who would serve his own house. He said, get ye down, Moses. They defiling themselves. They done made an idol. He the one who was serving them the whole time. Do you not notice that the people who serve people the most are the ones who are ridiculed and hated the most? The people hate, and these are the ones who love you. But we supposed to be in the word and we supposed to know better. So if we say I'm a man and I'm the head, don't sit there and tell that woman you the head of the household and then you're going to go against the man who taught you that. Then Paul by saying the head of the man, the head of the woman is the man. And then it's the same man that told you that those of us that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak. And Peter told you your wife is the weaker vessel. Therefore you would be the stronger vessel. So therefore you ought to bear her infirmities and you ought not to please yourself. Because Hamashiach did not seek to please himself. Moses did not see. Where can we read? What did Moses say? I ain't took no ass from you. Which one of y'all did I put my hands on? Samuel said the same thing as he got ready to die. Which one of y'all have I taken anything from? I didn't come here to take advantage of you. I came here to serve you. This is why Paul wrote, he said, we preach the gospel without charge. Yeah, I have power to do it, but I'm not going to. Did those people attend to his necessities? Yes, they did. They understood the service the same way they understood the service with the Levites. The Levites' whole job was to serve the people. They weren't doing that for fame or a name. It was service. Why do you think this man tell you got to be willing to forsake everything that you have to be his disciple? You can't serve if you're not willing to sacrifice. You can't serve if you're thinking about yourself. Why do you think so many people stumble and fumble out the word? Because they're selfish. Yah hates a selfish individual because he's not a selfish Elohim. His son is not a selfish king. You know the one thing Yah said he would judge us for? His name. Because his name means something, so he seeks to protect it. It's a brand. Just like he said, it's a brand. It's got the name of Yahuwah is a brand. That means there's things that go along with that. I got to protect that. It's power and might and justice and judgment and righteousness attached to that name. I will not allow you to sully it. And what do we do? Do we wait it out? Do we think about that? No, we don't. Because we're just thinking about ourselves. That's why he say we have thus judged that if one die, we're all dead. And that henceforth we should not live unto ourselves, but to him that died and rose from the dead for us. I mean, I'm going to serve this man the way he served us. Don't tell me about how much you love this man and you know this man served himself up on this tree and died for our sakes in service unto you, and you can't serve him back. You can't serve your wife. You can't serve your children. You're not a man at that point. You're not a man because you pay no bills, and you're not a man because you could pull your penis out and put it in the vagina. That don't make you no man. What makes you a man is being as this book done taught us, we read it before, is being a man of understanding. It's being a man of righteousness. It's being a man who possesses wisdom. It has a man who has self-control. It is a man who is willing to serve. It is a man who is willing to love. It is a man who is willing to guide with compassion, patience, and understanding. But you know, people take advantage of that. And even in that, you execute long suffering. Because we know some busters and some suckers out here. You know what I'm saying? But this man told you, say, no, he said, don't sit back and say, he said, do they think? He said, I trow not. He said, just say, I'm a profitable servant. I'm just doing what it is my duty to do. It's your duty to serve your wife, nigga. It's a duty to serve your children. That's what you signed up for. Don't sign up for military service and you ain't willing to do the job. You shouldn't have signed up. That's your duty as a man. Yahushua signed up to die. That was his duty as a man. He didn't run from that. He didn't hide from that. Where do you read Yahushua saying, why y'all ain't thank me for dying for y'all? Where my thanks at? Where my praise at? He didn't ask you for that. He didn't do it for that. Nevertheless, I think I got a couple more. Let me see what I want to do. Praise y'all. That's all I can tell you. Come over here, man. Mark chapter 11 real quick, man. Don't even worry. Don't even worry about me. Mark chapter 11, man. Matter of fact, we'll just stop right there. That's good enough. But hold on, I got a couple right this here, man. We'll continue the rest, y'all willing, on tomorrow. But again, he said that he would set him as a leader and a commander of the people. Remember, that's Savah. That's the revealing the way of the sacrifice, revealing the way of life. Yahushua revealed us the way of life. I'm going to read it to you again in Matthew chapter 20. He revealed us the way of life. He revealed it to us right here in Matthew chapter 20. Verse 25 again. You know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you, but whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. Whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. See, hold on, come to Hebrew chapter 9 real quick, right? He said he came to give you his life a ransom for many. So he came to serve. That was his objective. That's what he came for. Hebrew 9, right? Verse 24. You got to sit back and think. He didn't come here for that. He said, I didn't come to be served. I came to serve. So you have to take that into consideration. Leaders sacrifice, leaders serve, and leaders are selfless, and they have self-control. You know how many times Yahushua probably wanted to kick them people in their chin? You can read in Mark chapter 3, he was angry because of the hardness of their heart. For Hamashiach has not entered into the Kadesh places made with hands, which are the figures of the true, but in the Shamahim itself, not appear in the presence of Elohim for us, nor yet that he should offer himself often as the high priest enter into the Kadesh place every year with the blood of others. For then after he have suffered since the foundation of the world, but now once in the end of the world, he have appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. So Hamashiach was once offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation. Like we mentioned the verse where he said that Hamashiach didn't please himself, but the reproaches of them that reproached thee fell upon me. You know, and remember that what we read in Jeremiah 6, he said that he set this man that he may know and try your way. So Yahushua is set in the midst. The gospel is set in the midst to know and try the way which you'll choose. Will you try the way of it? Will you execute the way of a servant? Or will you execute the way of a bastard? Will you execute the way of a son? Or again, will you execute the way of a bastard? Will you execute the way of a righteous man? Or will you execute the way of a wicked man? Will you execute the way of a just man, or will you execute the way of an unjust man? Because just men will serve, because that's what our Elohim is taught. He taught it with Abel. He taught it through Abraham. He taught it through Noah. Because what did Noah did? Noah built the ark and prepared the ark in service for his household, which is a whole nother conversation in and of itself. It was the service of redemption. And we can go on and on. David served Saul, even though Saul sought to kill him. He served the man continually sacrificed, continually was selfless, and continually was just with him. Which let me lead that because y'all willing. We probably look at that on tomorrow. David was a selfless king who sacrificed and served the people continually and always judged in just judgment and parameters of service to the kingdom and not to himself. That's why he said he's a man after Yah's own heart, because he was a selfless, sacrificing servant, which was Yahushua, a selfless, sacrificing servant. So if we say that we're going to be the head, the commander, then we're supposed to be revealing the way of life, the way of the sacrifice to those who you have a charge over. You're supposed to be revealing that sacrifice, revealing that selflessness and that service unto them, because that's the way of Yahuwah. That's what the law teach. That's what the word teach. That's what the gospel teaches. So we need to emulate that. But hallelujah for Yahushua and the word. We'll start right there. I appreciate everybody this evening. Bless everybody out of the house of Yah, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. I pray that the words of Elohim rest in your heart and you consider them and lay them upon your heart, that you might be regenerated and receive the Ruach HaKodesh unto everlasting life, to dwell in his kingdom forever and ever. Bless everybody out of the house of Yah, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, and love and appreciate everybody. Y'all willing, we'll be at Regency on the Shabbat. Will got something for y'all on that. You know, probably gonna start a little bit on early, a little on time. And then yeah, we'll just go from there. But yeah, make sure you put it in your mind to have a heart of a servant, men and women, especially the men, but the women too. But more so the men, because we the ones who's supposed to be the leaders, supposed to be the commanders and have charge and give orders. So if we have a charge and give orders, then we have to be willing to serve and to serve first and to not please ourselves. So, shalom, arrivederci, good day, good evening, good night, and all that other stuff. Boy, you all right over there, boy?